Yeah.
especially with the way they are, leading up to the end of the season, the way they are, getting together, especially with the new legs that are coming back.
Audio Jungle.
Hello, good evening. This is Taiwo Najobi once again on Lanonasis Maple Sports. We like to bring a lot of unfiltered opinion, sharp analysis, and big love for Canadian noobs and eyes, covering the world of Premier League, Champions League, and everything that has to do with football. We'll be trying to break it down a little bit more, especially with the fact that a lot of leagues are, getting towards the end. NBA is wrapping up. CBL is preparing to start. Baseball is going at a very high speed, but we try to just carve out small space for smart hockey talk as well. This is run by Taiwo, your commentator, analyst, and unapologetic fan of the game. I'm here with Emmanuel, Crespo, Joshua, wonderful guys. And they've been able to help us grind it week in, week out. And I just say thank you because I don't take these opportunities for granted. I like to say today is a good day. Take a chance, want more, be amazing, and pursue your passion. A lot has been happening. Crespo, say hello to everybody. Joshua, then man, Emmanuel.
Hello, hello, hello. It's good to be back. Let's discuss some Champions League. Let's discuss how we saw a beautiful game between PSG and Bayern,
Bye.
and let's just enjoy the football.
Yeah, Dr. Joe.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good to be back and happy to talk about this incredible week that we've had of Champions League football and also football at its finest. So yeah, happy to be back and good evening, guys.
Thank you, Taiwo. Happy to be here again. Good evening, everyone. Looking forward to our discussion today. It's been a wonderful week of beautiful football, and some interesting things happened as well. So looking forward to the discussion today.
Okay. I think before we jump into most of our conversations, a lot of things are just happening across the world. And, I feel that we should just, take it one step at a time. Looking at Man U generally with some of the improvements that we've seen so far, and I'm going to allow Crespo go into it. Do you think they've done enough, first of all, to help them, stick their leg into Europe and just relax? Because I'm also hearing that they may go for the Bournemouth coach. It looks like they're not even looking at Michael Carrick
Right.
as a good replacement for them, and it's quite unfortunate we're at this situation. But so far, just talking a little bit about Michael Carrick's approach over the last number of games. Manchester United has had, I think, close to about 29 points since he came, and they've had more points than any other team in the Premier League since Michael Carrick resumed his first match. It shows that there's something going right with the way he's approaching the team. But from what I've seen, based on their change in identity, I noticed that he does more of scoring early, controlling the pace, and punish mistakes on mismatch. That's what has been his bread and butter all through. But I'll just allow you go ahead with another impressive win that they had this weekend against Brentford, a very difficult team to beat at that, and putting themselves in a better position. I would like to say that they've cemented a position for themselves to be able to compete at a very high level in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's deserving considering how their season or how Man U season started. I'm not sure
Yeah.
anybody would have given them a chance to put these runs of wins. The team was in shambles under Amorim. Maybe not shambles, but like they could not. They were unable to find themselves. And Carry coming in, those runs and those wins have put them in this very good position. I think with the win in the last game, I think they're quite sure of a place in the Champions League. So kudos to the team for getting to that point. Nobody expected Man U to finish this way, considering how the season started, like I said earlier. But however, for Carrick, I would say he's been a safe approach, which again can guarantee you possibly another Champions League slot next season. But I'm not sure that team can still compete for the league
Okay. I think also looking at the fact that Casemiro is leaving.
Yes. Casa is leaving. So again, it's all any coach you bring in to replace Carrick anybody. I still feel you need legs in that midfield for Man U. The quality of players got to improve. You've got to also bring in people that will bring in proper competition for the likes of Mbuemo, Ahmad, Konya. They shouldn't think that they are best already. There's so much more we can get out of these guys. So the kind of signings Man U can bring in will determine their season. For me, it's really not really about the coach. If you bring in Raola right now and the kind of players he wants are not in the team, what's he going to do? You are limited to the number of signings you can make per window. You know, there's the financial fair play rule
Simply.
there to curb whatever amount of signings you want to bring in. So again, I would think with what Carrick has done, Man U again should not go the knee-jerk approach of okay, get him out of it, bring in somebody new, then they start all over again. If they can get him 2, 3, 4 players with what we have currently, let's see what he can do for the next season. It could be the Judas to the Jesus that will come later and take Man U to the promised land, So again, I think kudos to Carrick. I didn't give him a chance. So with what he has done, I think kudos to him. And I think with what he has done, he deserves to be given that chance. Like you mentioned, that's beyond me liking or anybody liking his style of play. The stats show it that in the last 10, 15 games in the league, he's got the most points of all the
Most
coaches.
points. Yeah.
So if he can do that in this 15 and possibly do that in the next 15 of the new season,
Yeah.
that puts you in a good position. So again, fingers crossed. Let's see what the board would go about doing. I'm sure they want to wait for the World Cup to also finish to see the coaches, to have a pool of coaches to pick from. But I would say, I think by end of the season, give Carrick the job, but more importantly, buy legs in that midfield.
Okay. So Joshua, what do you think generally, based on your own view, for Manchester United as a team that should be able to challenge next season?
Yeah.
Especially with the way they are, leading up to the end of the season, the way they are, getting together, especially with the new legs that are coming back. What do you think?
I wouldn't say I expect them to challenge next season. Challenge for the league title, I believe, is what you're saying. I think that would be too much expectation on whoever is the coach. I would say to be able to challenge in another 2 years. So next season, my expectation for Manchester United would be to comfortably finish for, as well as seeing how far they can go in Champions League and maybe nick a cup here and there, either FA Cup or Carling Cup. They can nick one of the domestic cups and then comfortably finish top 4 and not like having to chase or struggle, and they can finish third or fourth. I think that would be a good place for whoever will be the manager to have his full first season, and the summer the players they bring in, if they can comfortably do that, then they can then improve on the squad in the summer, then hope to challenge next season. But I don't think I would see them as title challengers in the next season. I think that might be just too premature. And also, again, we don't know who the manager would be next season, right? It might be Carrick. It will be his first full season. It will be his first full summer. We have players. Some players will move on. So again, we don't know how Carrick would turn out in the full time job next season. And if he's a different manager, it will be his first season too. So it will be too much expectation expecting to challenge for the title. It's not like Manchester United have a ready-made squad to challenge. It's going to take a time for It's going to take time for whoever is the manager to build a squad that can challenge. Again, it's interesting to see in terms of the coaching conundrum that Manchester United has. Ideally, I would say it's a good problem because
Yeah.
it's a good problem to have. Carrick being good, knowing that, okay, do you keep him or do you look for someone else? Who is the someone else, right? If you get someone else and it doesn't work out, you'll be like, okay, you should have kept Carrick. You keep Carrick and it doesn't hit the ground running, it's reason be like, oh shit, you people did not learn from your mistakes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You should have gone out to get a top there. So again, it's neither here nor there, right? And these are the decisions the owners have to make. They have to live and die by the decisions. And it's interesting to see, right? And because we don't know the future, it's always in hindsight that we analyze, because hindsight is a beautiful thing. But right now, I don't think anyone would complain too much if Carrick is given the job full time next season based on the performance this season. And just because there's really no standout coach out there that Manchester United can go that is available and is willing to come to Manchester United right now. So it's made the market a bit dicey in terms of that if you don't have a pool of big, strong coaches that you would generally want in Manchester United, right? The only person I can think of that is free is Zidane. And we know he's waiting for the France job after the World Cup. Another one is available is Klopp. We know Klopp is not going to come to Manchester United. So he won't come to Manchester United. So those high caliber managers, there are not a lot of them available, and they are come to Manchester United. So I understand that's why, again, will you choose Raola over Carrick? Iraola has done more in the Premier League, but he's not managed a big club, right? And where the expectation is.
Iraola came from Spain. I think he also did some stints in Spain, have you?
Yeah, I think Real Sociedad or Athletic
Yes, yes,
Bilbao, I can't remember.
Mm.
But again, Carrick seems like a very calculated risk considering how well he's also done this season. So, but again, the real test would come next season. So it's interesting to see in what way they go. But I think my mind tells me they would eventually have to settle for Carrick.
Yeah.
Not because it will be their first choice, but because considering all of the other factors,
All the other big coaches, yeah.
not being available, he also doing really well. So just like, okay, might as well take a chance with him.
Yeah. And I also want Emmanuel to kind of just chime in here, especially looking at the coaching side. I think in my own opinion, and I may be wrong, and it's also open for some kind of criticism as well, is in the Premier League is becoming much more difficult to struggle as a coach because you may not be there, for too long. I'll give you an example. Burnley actually had a gentleman agreement to sack Scott Parker, but the way it was reported was it was mutual consent. So it's becoming much more difficult, and a lot of sacks have happened all throughout the league. Tottenham had a fair share of it. Manchester United, Chelsea did their own, and though a fairly number of clubs are stable, but now it's now becoming like high tension. Okay, look at what happened in Nottingham Forest, West Ham. I think West Ham even sacked two coaches. So if you look at it generally, what do you think is the future for coaches that may not have enough time to be able to kind of, instill their own style of play into their team? Do you think time is running out for those kind of coaching opportunities? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just take that. I mean, I think that's a very interesting question that he asked, Taiwo.
Okay.
In terms of football has changed in a way, and the coaching landscape has really changed. As someone was saying, I saw a start of the average lifespan of a coach in Premier League now, at least I'll use Premier League as focus, is 18 months.
18 months, yeah.
Contract is there. And you see the average, like, if you check Premier League now, longest serving coaches in all the 20 Premier League clubs currently. Once you take out Guardiola and take out Guardiola, take out Arteta, the next person is Slots.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, no, maybe not Slot, maybe Una Emery, then it's Slots. You can see that there are not a lot of managers that have spent currently up to 3 years. I think it's gonna be Una Emery, Glasner who is leaving, Teta and Pep, right? So it just shows you that the number of years managers use at clubs now is reducing because of that instant gratification that football has turned into now. Nobody's willing to, right? Gone are the years when Wenger had to wait, build his team. Hell, Alex Ferguson waited, right?
Yeah, waited.
He didn't win his first league title until after so many years. So yeah, at a big club, that is almost gone now currently, except if you find a club and a manager that they really believe in your project, and then they now have to see progress after 2 years, right? Remember, a case in point, Arteta,
yeah.
6 season now. Remember, he finished 8, and then there were calls for people to sack him at the time. And if they had sacked him then, I don't think anyone would have complained at the time but they stuck with him, and then we can now see how well he's doing now. I remember also Klopp took some time to be able to win the league title when he joined Liverpool too. So those are the last 2 examples I've seen, or I can remember in Premier League, of managers who are taking time and the club stuck with them. But that's very rare now in today's world of football.
Yeah. Crespo, what do you think about the in and out of managers? Is it worrisome, or is just that, man, effectiveness is now at a very high level right now with the owners of clubs?
I want to go a different path. I think it's because of the football business, the money.
Yeah, I thought of the owners, the new owners that are putting a lot of pressure as well.
So it's about the money. Everybody wants to remain in the league for the TV rights, for all of those things. So if you are not doing anything that assures the team staying in the league, you might get out as soon as possible. We saw the way Tottenham went about it. We saw how Nottingham Forest went about it. In a season, they had 2 coaches go out just to get in who they have now, and they are in a pretty good space. So again, just like Joshua said, yes, football is changing, but I also feel, especially in England, we see a lot of these changes more in England, much more. We see it predominantly in English Premier League, simply because of the attention and because of the money in the league.
Yeah.
Other factors, like Joshua said, are valid, but I also want to think the money is one of the very, very big factors. And you can see also is affecting the quality in terms of play quality in the Premier League,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
play quality. So everybody is about, just get the win. But
They're
the
cautious.
quality of the football is no longer, everybody's trying to play beautiful, but at the same time, the results are so much more germane for teams. Yeah.
Emmanuel, do you want to give us your 3 cents in this?
Yeah. Sorry, my boy just came to wish me to tell me good night. That's what happened before.
No,
Sorry
it's
about
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think Joshua and Crespo have spoken well about what's going on in the football business these days. I think it's just the pressure, the financial pressure on the teams these days. You see, teams making a lot of investments in football. Like for example, Sunderland. Look at all the players they bought when they got into the league, right? Although they stayed with their coach. Another person who stayed longer as well, Joshua, you mentioned some of them. Is this guy, what's his name, Eddie Howe in Newcastle. I think that this is the third year.
Okay, I think from
Yeah.
Bournemouth he moved to
Yeah, it's
Newcastle.
probably 3 years
He's also been
now
in
in
the Premier League
Newcastle.
for a while too.
Yeah, it's 3 years. So you can imagine all the players that he's bought, and then so these investors or these owners of clubs these days, they want to see returns immediately. They want to remain in the league because, like just like Crespo said, a lot is going on in the league. I mean, who talks about the Championship or the League One or League Two in England? Nobody talks about those ones, right? But I mean, maybe they talk about them, but not as much as the Premier League. Premier League is the main thing they talk about in England, right? Nobody talks about those other lower leagues. But they still play good football there. You saw what Southampton has done recently, beating most of the Premier League teams in the FA Cup. Man City, I felt Man City was lucky in that game. They should have. I think Southampton should have won that game, but she shows you there's still quality in the lower leagues, right? It's just the fact that these guys going to the Premier League, that's where the big money is. The big managers are there. The big players want to play in the Premier League. Players coming from all over the world to play in the Premier League. So there's a lot of pressure on the coaches to deliver, right? And when you're not delivering, the patience from the owners of the club sort of becomes very thin, and then you're asked to leave. Those clubs who have been patient with their managers are seeing some decent results because, I mean, let's look at Liverpool, for example. If they are sacked Slot, I don't know where they've been today. They know where they should be. They're not doing so well, but I don't think sacking Slot would have helped because the guy just came in first and won the Premier League for them, which is not an easy thing to do. If I look at Scott Parker, I mean, he came from the Championship. I don't know what again, we don't see the agreements with these coaches. We don't see the details of the fine details of the agreement that they have with them. So we don't know what promises in those agreements to say, okay, you must keep us up on the league or else you go. Or you must win your first 5 or 6 games or else you go. This sort of thing. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But from what we can see, it looks like it's just the pressure of owners wanting to remain in the league because of the big attention that the league is getting, the TV rights, the money that players are making, the clubs are making from the league, right? So that's just what it is. And the football is changing, it's really changing because the era of coaches staying long, is
No more.
going
It's
away.
as
And
good
these
as,
days, good has gone.
Yeah.
Apart from Arteta and Guardiola in the Premier League, I'm not sure anyone has stayed up to 4 years in their current clubs, right? So it shows you that the things are really changing in football, and the same goes for most clubs all over the world too, right? I don't know how. I think if I look at France, for example, how long has this guy been in PSG for? When Emery was there, he was
Enrique. No, Enrique, they want to even give him 10 years contract if possible.
yeah, because he's doing so well, right? He's doing
He's
so
doing
well.
so well.
He's
Even if he doesn't do well in the
not looking
next
to
10
win for
years,
how many years?
how long have you seen a top coach really go to PSG and stay that long?
Exactly. But, that's because they've not been able to achieve what he has achieved. They've not won the
Yeah.
Champions League before, which has always been their target for a long time. For them, the French League is like it's already done. As far as I'm concerned, French League is done. PSG will still win it this season. They will win it again next.
PSG. Exactly.
Same thing as in Germany, Bayern Munich. You're sure that they win it again next season with the players that they have and the coach that they have currently. For them, it's just the fact that Enrique has come and done what all the coaches who have been there before have not been able to do. Right. So it's just what it is. It's just the business, the landscape is changing. There's more attention right now on being informed. And social media too is not helping as well. The pressure of social media too is not helping. Right. It wasn't there back in the day when Arsene Wenger was in Arsenal. Or
was
started with,
building.
was building up exactly. Now there's a lot of pressure from everywhere. If you watch a football game, before you know what's up, you look at YouTube, you see comments from people all over the world commenting, insulting the players, insulting the coach. Those stuff, and you're like, this wasn't like this back in the day, right? So I even feel for these players or these coaches. Like I imagine what they're going through in their homes when they see all this comment. It takes a lot for them to, filter the noise and focus on what they need to focus on. It takes a whole lot. I can imagine myself where I work and I get feedback from my coach sometimes, and if the feedback is not good, I know how I think about it and try to improve. Not talk of someone who sits at home, you hear millions of comments, directed at your family members too. Like when Madueke when moved to Arsenal, people signed a petition for Arsenal not to buy him. I'm like, So it shows you the pressure on football these days. So a lot of things that have changed,
Yeah.
and these things lead to a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Again, so I think owners seem to be brave. For example, in Arsenal, I think the owners have come to say that no matter what, they're sticking with Arteta. So that's sort of reduced the pressure on the man. No matter what, right now, the pressure has reduced. But if they had not said anything with what is going on right now, losing the FA Cup, losing the Carabao Cup, they would have said, okay, he's under a lot of pressure to win it, to win something. But that's statement from the club saying no matter what, he's our guy. Sort of reduce the pressure on him. But that's the football world, unfortunately. Not all club owners will do the same thing, will stick to their managers despite the losses. So it's just what it is.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks so much for really extending that. And just like what you said, across the world, Fenerbahce has also sacked their coach because they noticed that Galatasaray is still a very good team. They sacked Mourinho. I still remember they sacked Mourinho before Mourinho went to Benfica. Now they've sacked their new coach again because they just couldn't get above the hump, especially the fact that Galatasaray has really improved. So it looks like there's a lot of desperation going on. And going back to what Crespo also said, Disney Plus has just secured their rights for Men's Champions League in 7 European countries. That deal was a big deal. They signed it with those countries. So some of those deals too are also putting pressure on the clubs because a lot of TV rights deals are in front of them and they're signing billions of dollars. Like they want to show those matches in those countries. So you don't want to remain below the league that is not competitive. You want to stay there so that you make more money.
Yeah.
And that has just been
one of the countries. It's not
sorry.
It's
No, European countries now, including
Yeah.
Sweden, Denmark, most of the countries within that, Hungary, Romania, and all the others. That ones, so they can watch football directly on Disney Plus now. Before they just couldn't. So it also shows that there's a lot of pressure on. The thing is, once you sign those deals, means that they're going to show footballing across those countries in Europe and everywhere too. So it's a big one. TV rights are everywhere. It was a big fight in basketball last season because Amazon also came and they said they want to show some basketball matches. So the TSN people also fighting that they want to show some basketball matches in Canada. Now we still have ESPN, who is the biggest fish amongst them. So a lot of people are fighting to show matches these days. So they're trying to get some pound of flesh.
TV.
In fact, NBA had to spread it across. Amazon will show some. This ones will show some. If you're on their NBA app, you will also show some. So it's a big fight now across that area. So before I go straight into the Arsenal match, I want Crespo to just give me what you think, especially as this narrative just goes straight. Looking at the Arsenal match, I think they had a clear instruction that they don't want to lose the first leg. Don't ever lose the tie in the first leg. That's what I saw. I saw two teams that kind of understood the stakes. They know that this is at the highest level. A lot of people have watched a very free-flowing match a day before. So they knew that they had to just come in and get it done. Unfortunately, two penalties had to dictate the match and two, distinct identities. What do you think generally from your own view?
What I think is, the game before the Arsenal Atletico game took us out of planet Earth. Then Arsenal Atletico brought us back. That, hey guys, we are still on Earth. That's not the usual kind of football you get to see every day. So don't be too excited. Get back to reality. In my opinion, a solid game. Two very pragmatic sides. They can both attack and they can both defend. We saw that both of them did. They had good chances. Atletico had more chances to score, but you can see that the Arsenal defense was quite solid. Silly error from Atletico, in my opinion. I think Atletico is more careless at the back. They are very strong, but they can be very reckless. Maybe not careless. They are much more reckless. Like you can see some funny tackles that they churn out at the back line that could be like, hey, you are not even under pressure. Why are you going at the player that way? That being said, I think it was a solid game, very interesting game in my opinion. Unlike the free-flowing game we saw a day before, it was a balanced game. Now for Arsenal, I think they did a very good job. And again, like Thierry Henry said, he said going away to winning Atletico some years back before the change of this rule, everybody would have applauded Arsenal for going away to get a goal away. So they've done well. However, football is very interesting. Anything can happen now, even at the Emirates. If you think they can win, they can also lose at the Emirates. But I would think more like they've got the edge now that they are at home. They can be much relaxed in terms of getting the job done. But however, Atletico is a solid side. I think Lookman was not sharp enough to kill Arsenal. I think in that game he had like two or three one-on-ones with the goalie, and he he barely passed it to Raya. There was a ball that hit the crossbar from Griezmann. So again, like I said, it was a very good game that I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing the second leg. But again,
Secondly,
anything can happen in that game, and may the best man win.
yeah. So, Emmanuel, before you jump on it, especially the fact that you're excited about Arsenal's performance, also putting it in line with the fact that the Premier League has not really been the most interesting league when it comes to watching good football. And the reason why is also because of some of the things I will still talk about in this session. Arsenal have averaged 5% more shots than they have generated in the Premier League, in the Champions League. So it means that Arsenal has been a bit more fun to watch in Champions League than in the league itself. They've had 14% more goals in Champions League play than in the league itself. And that's why if you look at it, European opponents are playing a bit more open than English opponents because the stakes are a bit high, you understand. But in your own view, put that into context. What do you think Arsenal put together before they went into this tie?
I mean, the thing about the Premier League these days is that most teams, when they play against the big teams, they just go defensive, right? So and that leads to, of course, packing the balls and things like that. And then what then happens when they pack the balls like that? The games becomes more, and that's what happens when Arsenal plays most of the teams in the Premier League, apart from maybe Man City, who probably played well to attack in the last few games. Maybe Bournemouth too came out to attack, I believe, and then some other teams, when they play, they always go back to defend, and that always leads to scoring football, passing the ball around, looking for the space in between, to create something to shoot or to score a goal. So it becomes a problem. So that's why the football in Premier League has been boring. Not just Arsenal alone. A lot of teams too play the same way against other teams as well. So generally, football has not been so great, in the Premier League. But when you go to Europe, these are top teams in the world. These are top teams in Europe, like best 3, 4, 5 countries in 3, 4, 5 clubs in their countries. And they come out to play because they know what the stakes are, right? They come out to play football. They play to win. Most of them play to win. There's some mostly go defensive, but most of them play to win. So when a team plays to win, you two have no choice but to come out and play, except you now want to defend, right? So that's why games like against Atletico Madrid, Arsenal played on Wednesday, against Bayern Munich when they play Bayern, against all those teams. You see, football is always fun to watch because everybody comes to play. They know what's at stake. If you don't win the game, it goes into don't win and the other person doesn't win, it goes into extra time and penalties. And all that takes a lot more from players. Nobody wants to go that far except you just can't help it. So I guess that's what it is. And then looking at the Atletico Madrid game, it was a good game of football, to be honest. That's the typical semi-final game. I know a lot of people were saying that the PSG Bayern game was a typical semi-final. Yeah, it was beautiful, but how can teams be shipping 4, 5, and 4 goals in semi-final? Like it didn't feel normal to me. Maybe I'm too old school, but it didn't feel normal to me. Like
But we had a final that was 5-0 last season.
yeah, I know, but it shows you that those teams are not strong at the back. If you concede 4 goals, and even if you score 4, yeah, you can score 4, but if you concede 5 goals or 4 goals in the semi-final, then I don't know, but I just feel like it doesn't sound right. I mean, if a team
I think
goes and
both coaches came out to take a lot of risk.
I know they want to take a lot of risks, but you also need to show up your defense as well, right? Just like the way Arsenal plays. Like, yes, Arsenal went to win the game. You could see that they went to win the game the way they played. But they didn't end up shipping. Yeah, they were lucky. Lukman should have scored like two goals, as far as I'm concerned. Griezmann missed a chance, the one that hit the bar. So they've conceded like 3 goals. We two could have scored about maybe 2 goals, 2 more goals in addition to what we scored. But at the end of the day, you look at it and you ask yourself, in the semi-final, why are the defenses so poor that they're conceding 5 and 4 goals? Again, I may be wrong, but that's my personal opinion, right?
Okay, I don't know. Maybe maybe after I can say something about that.
Yeah, of course. That's my view. So looking at the Arsenal game, it was quite impressive to see, and it was a good result for Arsenal, right? I like the way they prepared for the game, right? Starting with Odegaard, I felt like he had one eye on the game at the weekend, right? A lot of people were saying, why not start your best players? But you need to also rest some of them and start others too, because you have a tough game to play. As far as I'm concerned, the one on Saturday is the most important game, more important game than the one of yesterday, because if you had lost to Atletico maybe 1-0 or 2-0, you have a chance to fight that next week. But if you lose this game on Saturday, the league is almost done because you saw Man City will win some of their games, right? So it puts you on the back foot already. So starting Odegaard ahead of Eze, I felt it was justified. Maybe not the best job, but I could understand why he did that, right? And bringing Eze in later, taking off
They're
Odegaard.
also managing Eze because it's not 100%. You will know. Yeah.
That was what I thought the plan was. Not but also try to win it as much as possible. Don't lose it. If you can't win it, then don't lose it. And even the way the goals came, I mean, that Eze one was, in my opinion, was a clear penalty, right? No matter how how they tried to garnish it to explain it to us. It didn't make sense to me that they called that penalty off. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it wasn't a clear and obvious error. They shouldn't have sent the referee to the screen as far as I'm concerned. That decision was already done by the time he gave the whistle and said it was a penalty. Even the replay showed that. All the assessment I've seen of that says that it's penalty, right? So Arsenal was cheated in that game as far as I'm concerned. It should have been ended 2-1, except Atletico would have scored again. It's all to play for the Emirates. I'm looking forward to the game. It's still quite open, although advantage us now because they're playing at the Emirates, right? So, but let's see how it goes on Tuesday.
So before I allow Crespo just, give us his own opinion, do you think that if they have allowed that penalty, it would have caused some kind of reassessment of the penalties that were allowed to as well?
Well, I don't think so, right? Because
it would have been completely different.
Yeah, I mean that's a different situation, right? The one on Gyökeres was a clear penalty. The one on Ben White too, by Champions League, Europe, the rules in Europe, that's the penalty. In the Premier League, no, you can debate that wasn't a penalty because he touched his knee and then touched his hand, right? But in Europe, in the Champions League, those things that it was even the same. It was the same thing against Bayern Munich. What's his name? That a defender. No, not for Serbia. So they were consistent. But the one is they don't understand why it was overruled. I don't understand it. Like looking at that thing severally, there was contact. He went down and the ref blew. It was clear and obvious for Vieira to intervene and ask him to go and see the other way. And he watched it about 13 times before he decided that it wasn't a penalty. So you could see that it wasn't that clear, right? And that's I think if it was given, nobody would have complained. Nobody would have said, okay, it was wrong. But not giving it, the law people are saying is wrong. And clearly I think it was wrong as well.
Okay, Crespo.
So I was just going to talk about the attack, the defense point Ima mentioned. So again, if you look at the PSG Bayern game, there were two penalties in the game, and there is none of those goals that you tell me is outrightly a defensive error. Any of those goals. So again, what we saw.
There's some you can see. You know these guys close these guys down more. They have the quality that these guys have. Olise.
So again, the analysis that I find for that is we just saw the attacking players at their best for both teams. The take-ons from Kava was on point. The take-ons from Olise on Mendes, I've not seen anybody take on Mendes so much in this season in the Premier League and get away. I can mention 3 or 5 times Olise beats Mendes at the left back. I can mention a number of times Diaz took on who was on the left. How many times do we see people take on Hakimi?
Hakimi, very good, top level.
He took on Hakimi a number of times. Look at their second goal. That was superb. What did you expect from the pass Kane gave to him? He took the defender. So again, we can want to analyze the defenders. Those goals. Look at Olise's goal. It's just like a Messi goal. Between everybody. Look at Dembele's.
If the keeper did not move, he would have still touched it.
The chances Dembele even missed in that game. He missed a one-on-one, clear one-on-one. So again, the analysis that I would agree with is if you say they threw a little bit of caution to defend him, but if they had been more cautious defending, we would have seen this kind of attack. Reason being that for Olise to attack so much, then he must have his right back also very high up on the field.
Yeah.
Because if his right back is deep behind, he can't take on those runs so many times. So again, we just saw two teams that this is how they know how to play, and they were not going to do any other thing. And again, why I said this doesn't take anything away from the Arsenal Atletico game. Exactly these same teams, this is how they know how to play. We've seen Arsenal get to the point where they are solid first, then they attack. And for everybody knows Atletico's style of game is solid first, attack. The only time I would say, the time I'll say there's a problem is if you see someone like Arsenal shipping 4 goals. If you see a team like Atletico shipping 4 goals, then you'll be like, hey, what's going on? Because we know them for being the guys who actually lock shop. So again, I really wouldn't want to put it so much on the defense. I just think we saw attacking. Again, I don't know how many games we have seen in a long time where 4 or 5 attackers on both sides are playing at their best. In a long time I've not seen it.
Probably let me ask you a question, Crespo. Do you think that if that game was against Bayern, let's say Bayern versus Arsenal or PSG versus Arsenal, you'd have seen that many goals?
See, that's what I'm saying, because we know Arsenal is much more pragmatic.
Pragmatic.
Arsenal won't go if Arsenal should go out guns blazing, they will chop like 6 and they might not be able to score as much as 6.
As much
Do you
as
get what
6,
I'm
yeah.
saying?
They will not,
That's
they will not
true.
chop up to 6. So. They will
No,
not chop
no,
up to 6.
because no, and that's what I'm saying, because Arsenal will
If you
not
think
go.
about it, yeah,
Okay, so let's flip it. Do you think
yeah.
Arsenal will play a game with PSG with Ben White all up in the midfield, like we saw a lot of
Well,
Hakimi doing, or we saw a lot of this guy, their number 44 guy? That imagine for Bayern, they had to remove the guy that played the right back in the first half
Yeah, they removed
to tell you how much running the guy had to do in the first 45. The guy couldn't keep up anymore. The amount of quality play the guy had,
Mm.
still beat him so many times. Like I don't, from what I've seen, and I've also listened to ex-footballers, defenders talk. They're like, you know what? There's no player in any of those defenses that you say, "Hey, he had a poor game, and that's why they considered 4." Upamecano scored a goal, and he still considered 5 goals. How do you explain it? From 5-2 to 5-4. So again, I just think again, like I started with, I'm not sure we'll see, apart from when these two teams play again, I'm not sure we'll see teams that will go at each other's throats this way in a long time. Considering the fact that if you go at your opponent that way, you must score. It's a different thing you go at that pace and you don't score and you get conceded. The people will say it doesn't make any sense. But at every chance those guys had to put the ball in the net, we can say they practically did. We'll say had misses, Dembele had misses, yet this guy still scored. So again, I just think, let me not say too much. Maybe I give it to Joshua, but we just saw a lot of attacking players at their best
yeah.
at
I
that
mean,
game.
it was good attacking play, to be fair. Well, I just believe that. I mean, for you to concede those number of goals at that level, right? And I agree with you. I mean, if you play against Bayern Munich, you need to be careful at the back, right? Against PSG, because they have players that can hurt you, right?
Yeah.
If you go toe to toe with them, so that's why you now need to analyze your, know who you're up against, right? Again, I know, like you said, both teams went out to win the game, and I'm sure that's what we're going to see something similar next week when they play in Germany. So it's just, I just feel like for you to concede 5 goals in the game, there's something fundamentally wrong. And it's not just about the fact that the attackers were good. I believe that the defenders could have been better. That's my personal opinion. I mean, wrong.
Okay, and that's okay. Can you tell me one defender that had a bad game?
I mean, because I think if you're playing against players whose quality, you know what these players can do to you. You know what they can do
And
to you.
they did those things regardless. They did them
You don't give them the
regardless.
chance. You can't not give them a chance to
Yeah,
do it,
but
right?
Bayern also scored 4. So I mean, technically, this
Yeah,
is a 1-goal loss, 1-0 loss
yeah.
Yeah.
going into the second leg because there's no
It would
away
have been
goals
better
or anything.
if PSG only scored 1 goal. It would have been better.
You know,
It's okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like in terms of when you see that kind of like, yeah, is this when it's not basketball? Like it's only basketball we see. In basketball, we see
Let's go.
those kind
But
of
again,
goals. But
it was a good game to watch. Honestly, I mean, it was beautiful to watch that sort of game, right? It was good to see good teams attacking, right, and wanting to get the win, despite in Germany playing away and Bayern playing away from home. So it was beautiful to watch them, right? Despite
yeah, and and it's because of how both of them play. That's why we could get a game
yeah,
like that. And for you to get a
yeah,
game like that, both of you have to be attacking. Like, you could see how many times the ball turned over, end to end stuff was not possession. So that's why we had the game like that. So I think it was a good it was a good display of attacking talent. Also, seeing the two teams, their front three, like both
yeah.
devastating, and there were some beautiful goals. So again, like I don't think it was really terrible defending or bad defending for most of it. I mean, for every goal you can always nitpick and see like, okay, you could have
Yeah.
better. For every goal, that one you always be able to do that. So, but like it's not like there was a howler or an own goal, stuff like that. So, but yeah, and like Crespo said, also for the Arsenal Atletico game, for me that was still a good game for me too,
Yeah,
right?
me too.
So
Yeah.
again, it's like when people were like the PSG Bayern, like that's how football is supposed to play. This one, I mean, yeah, fans would love that. People who are watching outside would love that. But if it's your team playing like that, I'm not
exactly.
sure you want to be playing hypertension football, right? Of not knowing what to expect. You want some balance there. So I think the Arsenal Atletico Madrid game was also very good, especially that period in the second half where Atletico was also playing, where Ademola had those chances. Like it felt like it started becoming like a proper game. The fans, Simeone chanting and all of that. And I think it was first half was terrible from Atletico. Arsenal totally dominated and maybe should have even gotten more goals. But again, it's just still that when you watch Arsenal play, is that attacking
Killer
synergy
instinct.
in the front three.
I agree.
Just like almost like they're trying too hard and they're trying, but it's not just clicking. Like if you watch how Bayern front three play or PSG front three play, you can see almost like it's telepathy. Like you don't have to look; they
Yeah.
just know where they are. Like giants
They know where they are. Yeah, they're like
and stuff
brothers.
like
The
that.
way they're
And
playing. Yeah, yeah.
that's something like Arsenal has not had in like probably since the beginning of the years. Like you feel like almost everyone is like trying too much. Madueke started, Martinelli started this game, Gyökeres, and it's only became better for me when Eze came on. And when Eze came on, and also when Saka came on, it was even better. But when Eze came on, he gave me that feel of he was holding the ball in the places where you want your attacking midfielder to hold the ball, like closer to the goal. So he did more. He had more impact for me than Odegaard in the game, and the game was just a bit maybe because the game was a bit more open at the time, or that people were already tired. But I just feel like Eze had more impact in the game. Again, he also had the penalty that could have been for me. I think in today's football, that's a penalty. The first one is one I actually didn't agree with. The one on Gyökeres is one where I was even like, that's a dodgy penalty. But it was clever work from Gyökeres, clever center
Yeah.
forward. But if I was the referee, I wouldn't give that, but I would give the Eze one for me was because you could see that there was contact. So again, it's neither here nor there, right? It's all those kind of reference decisions. But I think it was a balanced result, a fair result. In the end, comparing the two chances, like I said, Ademola had chances. There was the first one where the ball did not just go forward a bit; it was a bit stuck under his foot. The one where he passed to Raya, and they had the ball. Again, I would like to say Arsenal. I mean, my head says Arsenal should qualify by hook or by crook. However, they would qualify. But you also have to be wary of Atletico Madrid that on their day also the attacking team, the attacking forward can cause
Can
havoc,
punish you.
right? Griezmann
Arguably,
Solos did not even come on in the game, but Alvarez, Griezmann, Ademola Lookman like can just because I was also sure Barcelona would come through right in the second leg against Atletico Madrid, but that was not to be the case. So again, and because it might just play right into their hands because everybody is saying Arsenal would go into the Emirates and win, right? So almost as though the onus is on Arsenal to go and take that game in the second leg, and which might play right into Atletico Madrid's hands of sitting deep, hitting on the break, getting one goal, and locking shot, stuff like that. But I think Arsenal would do well to progress to the final. I think it would be, in fact, this Champions League campaign for them has been the best.
The best,
Group
yeah.
stage, top the league, and they were just on the best side of the draw. Like if they could ask for any team, those are the teams they played in the knockout stages. So it's just been a very good ride for them, and I think it's going to continue to the final. Whoever they get in the final, on a one-off game, Arsenal and anything can happen in a one-off game is a final, right? But we'll wait to see how that goes. But I think it was two beautiful games of football, different perspective, but both beautiful games that I totally
100%.
really enjoyed.
Yeah, especially when you're playing at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that this Arsenal team has still been 100% in Champions League this season.
Yep.
Yeah.
As they've not lost a single match.
Yeah.
So it means that there's something that they are
Something
doing
about
right.
them. Yeah, absolutely.
Something they are doing right. So that's just giving them their flowers. I would just want Crespo to just give me some of your permutations as it relates to some of the matches that will be played this weekend. But before then, we saw that Liverpool was able to make light of Crystal Palace, defeating them 3-1. They were able to take care of business the right way. Fulham, too, was also able to kind of disturb Aston Villa from giving them that kind of comfort because Aston Villa is still fighting for a top four as well. So it means that they still need to wear their belts the right way. However, they have Tottenham this weekend, who is also fighting a relegation battle. But I just decided to bring out some statistics just to push the permutations across the table. Arsenal has never lost in 32 home league games against Fulham. 32 is a very large number, and that's the most any side has faced without another team without getting a win. It means that Arsenal should comfortably get a win against Fulham, who has also won their last match this weekend under review. Fulham has only won once against Arsenal in their last 15 league games, and that was December 2023. That's a tough one. It shows that Arsenal should be comfortably going into winning.
I think all these stats you read out just makes me think that Fulham will then get something in this game.
I was about
not this game.
Just wait to hear what I was going to say.
Because all this time, you know how football is now that time. Now all of a sudden Fulham now was the idea.
You should wait till next season, I beg. Next season.
Going so fast. We're going into the month of May. I remember when it was still January and we're almost at middle of the year. Manchester United will be playing Liverpool on Sunday.
Really?
And that'll be 15:30 BST. Since Michael Carrick took over, just like we said earlier, the Premier League team, Manchester United, identity has been able to gather so much points than any other team in the league since when he took over. So, and they've just won 3 of their last 19 league games against Liverpool. So that's the other flip side. It gives you an idea that they can't sleep on those laurels. They have a way of just losing against Liverpool. I don't know why. And they've won just 3 in their last 19. Aston Villa too is still fighting. They are going to be facing Tottenham. That's another tough one because Tottenham is really struggling. They were able to win against Wolves last week. And, I just feel that getting out of the relegation zone gives them that fight and appetite to keep staying out of it at least for another 3 or 4 games. So just give me your permutations based on how these matches will go on Saturday and Sunday, because these are the key ones that can change the perspective so far.
Yeah, so for the Arsenal Fulham game, just like Joshua was saying, I was like, I hope all these stats don't go against Arsenal. More importantly, because it's with all those stats, it brings more pressure even on Arsenal. Fulham has nothing to lose. They probably will just be spoilers on the day. And when Arsenal happens to score one goal, then probably they'll score more goals. But again, we know at this level that footballers also they want to make a statement. Teams want to make a statement. Say, okay, I stopped you from winning the championship and all of those. So that's the only thing Fulham can do. So like with all the stars you mentioned, the pressure is heavy on Arsenal. Case in point, when they ended the game last week against Newcastle, did you see how all Arsenal guys went to the ground?
Yeah.
Like, so beyond even playing the game, there's so much pressure on them to win. They're at a point where the only time the pressure can be off them is when City drops a point.
Yeah.
If City
That's
doesn't
true.
drop any points, they are not off the hook. So it's those stats are nice, but they are going in there. And even Ima said it like the most important game is even the game on Saturday, not even the Atletico first leg match that we saw. So for that, I would say I give Arsenal the win. Arsenal should be able to take that 2-0 because Fulham they're neither, but they can be spoilers. Yeah. So for Man U Liverpool, I think right now the pressure is on Liverpool to do one better to just to stick or get their Champions League slot. So I would like to see I would think a Liverpool win can happen. But however, that Man U side, even I don't always pick Man U to win games, but you can have a corner kick now, Casemiro puts us ahead.
Yeah.
And I think right now we're the ones who even survive from corner kicks, not even Arsenal anymore. Casemiro, Maguire, they look like people who can get us ahead of the line. But again, there's no more pressure on Liverpool anymore. They're not in the Champions League. Their focus is just to get that Champions League slot and crack on for next season. I would think a draw in that game. For the Tottenham Aston Villa game, tough one because this evening Aston Villa lost to Nottingham Forest in the Europa League, and that's one way they're also trying that they have one leg in there to see if they can get the Champions League through that game. So I think there'll be a lot of pressure on Aston Villa to, as much as possible, do something good against Tottenham such that in case they get out of the Europa League, they still have their top 4. So it's tough for Aston Villa. Same for Spurs. They just need to win. Like I said, last few episodes, they need to win all the games to the end of the season for them to have a chance.
Yeah.
If they don't win all their games, and again they are struggling to get goals, so that's my worry for Tottenham. They got a scrappy win over I think over Wolves in the last game,
Yep.
and that's very poor of them in my opinion. Wolves is as good as gone, and you guys can still muzzle your way to at least have some more to give you confidence into the coming game. So let's see how they do. But again, I would say a draw in that match. I'm thinking a draw in that game. A draw in that game. And for West Ham, I hope they can get something out of their own next game. So it's interesting to see.
So, Joshua, what are your permutations Arsenal, Fulham, based on the numbers we called Manchester United, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Tottenham? These are key games that can swing the narratives across the table.
Yeah, I mean, we remember the first one. I think that was one of Carrick's first game, Manchester United Liverpool, and I think he won where he beat Liverpool Man City. So, but again, like I said, United have qualified for the Champions League. And Liverpool probably still need one more win to cement, or however many wins they need to cement. So again, at this stage of the season, is almost really again nothing so much to fight for, but it's gonna be an interesting game. I think that might end in a draw, but again, I won't be surprised if either team wins really, and because of how they're both playing, it could really go their way. But I'll probably stick with a draw. And like Crespo said, Man United have been playing good. They've been getting wins. I'm nicking those wins, and which again is what you need. And Casemiro has been really impressive. He and Bruno and Mosu Sesko. In fact, there's even campaign for Bruno to be player of the year, right? Player of the year. For how well he's done. He might break the 20 goal assists record that's been on for a long time. So he and Sesko seem to be having some kind of partnership going on. It's giving him a lot of assists. So yeah, good days for Manchester United. It could be a draw, most likely. And then Liverpool is all about just finishing the season with as many wins as they can to get a Champions League spot and try again next season and just forget that this season ever happened for Slot on the team. And just because of how they are slowly phasing out the guys, right? And there was a rumor that Alisson might leave. So that would then leave only Van Dijk as the senior man from the club era there. So again, it's gonna be a rebuilding year again for them. But like I always say, I think Slot should be given at least one more season to try to figure out if he can rebuild this Liverpool teams. Instead of the draw, Tottenham needs to win. So what are the other games again? Tottenham, Aston Villa.
Tottenham, Aston Villa,
That's going to be
Man
a
U,
tough one.
Liverpool.
I don't actually see Tottenham winning that game, if I'm being totally honest. I don't see where they'll be able to score as many goals as they would need to win that game. And also because Aston Villa needs to cement their place. They lost today, but also they lost last weekend, right? So they want to bounce back. And Tottenham have a lot of injuries in their front line. I don't just see where the goals coming from. At best, I think what they'll be able to get is a draw. I think Aston Villa would win. It leaves Tottenham in a very dangerous situation because we thought, like I said last week, if they beat Wolves, but again, West Ham also won. I didn't think they would, but they got a late minute goal and they've really played really well. And I'm really happy with how Nuno has brought the team together, the fans on board. Nobody's fighting the owners right now. And everybody is like this together with them. And because he came in quite early, so he's been able to build that team. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think Aston Villa would beat Tottenham.
We also have some heavyweights. Before I allow Emmanuel just give us his 2 cents, but that will be still far, we're still going to be getting those ones 4th of May, which will be Monday. Everton will be at home against the Man City, and Chelsea will be at home against Nottingham Forest. What do you think it will look like?
Is it me or Joshua?
Joshua.
Oh, okay. Chelsea again. What can we say?
What can the writer say?
Well, yeah, what can we say, right? Is you don't know. I mean, they did do well in the FA Cup game against Leeds.
Yeah.
So is it just
I
that?
think I see a bounce there from Chelsea.
Is it just that they didn't like Liam?
New manager
Liam
bounce.
Wood?
Yeah.
But would they be able to
That's a
finish
bit-
above an 8th position?
Yeah, for me, the season is already gone. So let's see how many wins they can get,
Muzzle out.
and see where maybe they can get Europa Conference League, Europa League. Who knows? If Aston Villa wins Europa League, that opens up another spot.
Sorry, Joshua, what happened to Pedro and Palmer in the last 2 games before that cup? Why didn't they play? They played in that game. How are you injured 2 games before and you play 90 minutes in
If
the next
you
game?
ask me, now who I go ask? That's the medical team. That was the report now.
It's a medical
That
report.
was the issue I had. Like, did
So are you trying to
Mourinho
say?
sack himself?
I don't think they would do. I don't think they would do that. They probably had a knock.
How do you have a
Even
knock
in
in 2
the
games?
in the FA Cup
Pedro
game,
missed 2 games.
in the
Palmer missed 2 games. And they came back in the FA Cup and they played 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
yeah, no, I don't think Palmer did not play 90 minutes. He came on. But
Pedro played 90.
Pedro started, but again, maybe the knock got they recovered from the knock. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know what Chelsea would do. Anyhow, they turn up. I think they play on Monday. They play Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest are fighting for their lives, and they are in a good run of form.
Run off from
And
there.
they're playing
Because
well.
beating
So
Aston Villa today was also a
they
good.
beat us some, so it's gonna be tough for Chelsea. But again, if Chelsea play well, they probably win. But I'm not putting my hopes up. Probably a draw is what I will go for. And Manchester City, Everton, Everton are gonna be tough, right? Away from
But I think they want a conference league as well too.
yeah, and Man City are playing
They're
away
fighting
from.
for a conference.
See, this is the kind of games you would like back then if they were when they were staying in Goodison Park. You knew it was going to be a cracker.
Okay. Yeah.
Arsenal would have played Fulham before Manchester United play, before Manchester City play on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, yes. Correct.
So depending on if they win, they would have gone 6 points ahead of Man City.
Ahead already. Yeah, you're correct.
On Mondays, so City would have 6 points behind. So that is a must-win game for them to take it back to 3 points. I think Manchester United will be I think Manchester City will be able to do it. I think they will get the win, and by hook or by crook, they will get over the line and to just keep it at 3 points. So yeah, that's what I think. I think City would do well to get the win.
Anyway, Emmanuel, based on your permutations, we're just looking based on sequence. Arsenal playing Fulham, even with the numbers that we have put out there. Manchester United will be facing Liverpool. Aston Villa is probably trying to cement a chance in Champions League against a Tottenham that is also struggling. It's more like a firecracker. And we have Chelsea going against Nottingham and Everton going against Man City. What say you?
What say me?
Exactly.
I mean, Arsenal versus Fulham. I would think Arsenal will do everything possible to win that game because a lot is hanging on that game, right? A lot
is hanging on it.
If
Yeah.
they go 6 points clear, they are at the top of the table. The Man City probably had a psychological battle to fight, right?
Yeah, yes.
Before and after they play. Even if they win Everton, it's still going to be 3 points. If Arsenal should win Fulham. I would tip Arsenal to win Fulham, but I think it's a bit tight. Arsenal Fulham is always a tight. I think the last time again we played at the stadium, we beat them just 1-0, I think, or 2-1. I can't remember again. So it's going to be a tough one. But I see Arsenal win. Arsenal has enough quality to hurt Fulham, even though our attack. I mean, I said this severally. Attack has not been clicking of recent, but I still see Arsenal winning that. But it's going to be a tight one, 2-1 or 2-0, right? That's what I predict. Liverpool versus Man U, Manchester United game. That one is another tight one because both teams right now are fighting for that third place, right? So, even though Man U right now is seems to have it, but if Liverpool should win this game, they probably will go top. Depending on goal difference. If they win by maybe 2 or 3 goals, they will go to third, and Man U will now be on number 4. So I would think Liverpool has enough to win the game, but then Man U is playing well very recently. So let's see what happens. But personally, who do I think should win? I think it should be Liverpool. They have enough to win. If Salah turns up and turns up and play very well, Kitike is out. Isak played and scored the goal the other time. And Florian West, if he plays very well, I see Liverpool winning that one. The other one you mentioned is Aston Villa versus Tottenham.
Tottenham.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? That's a tough one because Villa, they've not been so consistent lately. I mean, they lost against Nottingham Forest today. The team you expect them to beat quite
even last weekend, they lost again against Fulham.
No, exactly. And it's always 1-0 losses, right? Even though the one of today, there was a controversial decision that happened. I think there was something that the players had.
Possible red card, Anderson.
Exactly, but they didn't blow. I don't know what this UEFA. I don't know what's wrong with them, right? Just making some decisions. So if that had gone Aston Villa, it could have been a different game, right? So and those are the final details that you see, those fine margins on these games, right? Those small things can just switch the result of a game.
Yeah.
If that had gone their way, it'd have been a different game. They end up scoring like 3 or 4 goals, right? Against Nottingham Forest, but they were so unlucky to not get that given for them. So, but I think they have enough quality better than Tottenham. They have more. Well, they've been doing better playing for them. So I see Villa winning. It's going to be a tough one though because I thought Tottenham will be up for it, right? But I still see Villa winning that one. Which other one did you mention again, Taiwan? I think that's then
Chelsea.
Yeah, Tottenham Forest and Everton Man City. Everton Man City. I want Everton to win. That's what I of course, you know what I want. I want Everton to win.
That decision is not entirely remote.
It's not entirely remote.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, what's going to happen? I would say I see that being a draw.
Okay.
Everton is fighting for Europe, and against Man City, they'll probably be up for the battle because they've had enough time to prepare for that game, right? Same as Man City as well. So I see that being a very tough one.
They've had a pretty decent season, because I think they were top 10 all throughout this season.
Yeah.
So they were in the top half of the table all throughout this season.
Yeah. So Moyes is doing a wonderful job in Everton this season. I see that game being a draw, right? Even though Man City has Haaland, Semenyo, who else was that guy's name? Doku and all those guys. But I see Everton able to hold on to a draw on that game because they want to go to Europe, right? They want to qualify for Europe. So let's see.
And they're also at home, so
they're also at home, exactly. So it's always Everton at home is always a tough game, right? Chelsea, Forest.
Nottingham, yeah.
That's Nottingham Forest, right? Chelsea. Well, let's see. These are new manager bounds, right? So they might come out of their shell and play better and stitch a result from Nottingham Forest because this same guy was one that when they played against Man City some months ago that they drew, right? Against Man City, right? So let's see what he's able to do. I feel Chelsea playing at home against Forest, given what the aspirations and the fact that they have a new manager right now, who the players seem to be happy with, all of a sudden they're playing well, right?
all of a sudden.
That's why your friends are playing well right now. I don't know what happened when Rosenier was there, right? So it's just shocking that the same players can just turn around and start playing very, very well. Right? So let's see. I think I see Chelsea winning that one because they are desperate for a win in the Premier League right now. So I see them being able to get a result. It might be a tough one. It might be a 2-1 or a 1-0 win that they will get because Forest beat Sunderland 5-0 just last week here. So they're full of confidence. Right?
Yeah.
So let's see what happens in that game.
Okay, that's a good one. I think we are both by 1 hour, and we've been able to do some productive conversations around football, especially as it relates to drama, Champions League, Premier League, and some controversial decisions that are across the world. Thank you very much, guys, for spending quality time. These are things I don't take for granted. We always bring unfiltered opinion, sharp analysis, and we try to make it across, football everywhere in the world. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Have a wonderful weekend ahead, and see you next week.
Thank you very much.
you.
See you next
Thank
time.
you, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Audio Jungle.